Welcome to episode 6 of the Caffeinated Musings podcast. I'm so glad you're here with me again. This podcast is about thoughtful reflections, personal growth, and finding strength in the challenges we all face. And today's topic is no exception. Thank you for joining, for making the time to connect, and for trusting me with a piece of your day. Today, I want to talk to you about something we all struggle with. Something that can feel like the hardest thing in the world to endure. That thing is patience. Patience is not glamorous. It's not the kind of virtue that gets celebrated in our fast-paced world. We live in an age of instant gratification. We want fast results, immediate answers, and quick fixes. But patience is the forgotten gift. The one that's hard, messy, and often painful. And yet, it's the one that shapes us the most. I want to start by saying this. I know how hard it is. I know because I've been there. I've lived through the kind of waiting that keeps you awake at night, the kind that makes you question everything about yourself, your choices, and your future. Waiting for answers, waiting for outcomes, waiting for peace. And let me tell you, it nearly broke me. But here's the thing about patience that no one tells you. It's not just about enduring the wait. It's about transformation. It's about what happens to you in the process. It's about the person you become on the other side. And that's what I want to share with you today. This isn't going to be one of those polished, sugar-coated conversations about how patience is easy if you just trust the process. No, this is raw. This is real. Patience will test every fiber of your being. It will make you question yourself, your path, and your purpose. But it will also teach you things about yourself that you never thought possible. Today, I'm going to tell you my story, the pain of waiting, the lessons I learned, and the tools I discovered along the way. Tools that helped me not just survive moments of uncertainty, but grow through them. I'll introduce you to something I call hard tools and soft tools, a framework that has helped me navigate the hardest storms of my life. These lessons aren't theories. They're lived experiences. They come from years of waiting for answers that didn't come when I wanted them to, of enduring doubts that felt like they would never leave, and of finding hope in places I didn't expect. So, if you're feeling stuck, if you're in the middle of your own storm, I want you to know this. You are not alone. There is a way forward, and there is strength to be found in the waiting. Let's explore it together. Patience. It's a word we throw around so casually, like it's easy to practice. But anyone who's ever had to truly wait for something that matters, something that could change everything, knows how hard it can be. Waiting isn't just about the passage of time. It's about what happens to us during that time, the war that rages in our minds and hearts. For me, there was a time in my life when everything felt like it was on hold. I was stuck between two massive storms. On one side was a personal relationship I needed to fix. It was vital to me, something that felt like the foundation of my life. On the other side was my career. A career I was good at, but one that didn't feel like mine anymore. Every day felt like a balancing act, trying to keep both worlds from collapsing, while deep down I knew that something had to give. There's a unique kind of pain that comes with waiting. It's not just the absence of what you want, it's the doubt that creeps in when the wait stretches longer than you thought it would. It's the fear that maybe the thing you're waiting for will never come. I've lived through that. I've spent nights staring at the ceiling, replaying every decision I've ever made, wondering where I went wrong. I've questioned whether I was strong enough, smart enough, or deserving enough to get to the other side. It felt like my life was in limbo. Like every day was a test I wasn't sure I could pass. And then there was the relationship I was trying to repair. A bond so vital, I couldn't imagine my life without it. Waiting is hard enough on its own, But when it's tied to something or someone you love deeply, it becomes a storm within a storm. This kind of waiting chips away at your sense of control. You can't force an outcome, no matter how much effort you put in. And that lack of control can make even the strongest person feel powerless. It's a humbling experience, one that strips away any illusions you had about being in charge of your own destiny. I found myself questioning everything. Why was this happening? What could I have done differently? Was I being punished? Or was this just life teaching me something I wasn't ready to understand yet? Here's where human psychology offers us some clarity. Our brains are wired to seek resolution. The human mind craves closure. This is called the Zeigarnik effect, a phenomenon where incomplete tasks or unresolved issues stick in our minds far more than those we finish. It's why waiting feels so unbearable. Our brains keep replaying the uncertainty, trying to resolve something we have no control over. And that constant replay creates mental exhaustion. And yet, there's something about the weight of waiting that forces you to confront your deepest fears and insecurities. It's not just about enduring the discomfort, it's about peeling back the layers of who you thought you were and discovering who you really are. That's what waiting does. It holds up a mirror and asks you to take a hard, unflinching look at yourself. And it's not always pretty. And it's not just the waiting itself that's hard. It's what it does to your sense of self. When you're stuck in limbo, you start to feel like your life is happening without you. The world keeps moving, but you're standing still. You begin to wonder if you're being left behind. And that's when the voices in your head get louder, telling you that you're not enough, that you're failing, that you're wasting time. I remember one particularly hard season of waiting where the doubt became almost paralyzing. Every decision I made seemed to echo back with a question. Was it enough? Could I have done more? This cycle of self-questioning can feel endless when you're stuck in the unknown. That's the thing about waiting. It magnifies every insecurity and every fear you've ever had. Patience has a way of bringing out the doubts you didn't even know you had. It forces you to confront all the things you try to avoid in your day-to-day life. And that's what makes it so painful. Because waiting doesn't just test your ability to endure, it tests your ability to face yourself. It's not easy, and it's not supposed to be. For me, the psychological toll also came with a sense of helplessness. I wanted to do something, to take control, to fix things. But patience doesn't give you that. It asks you to sit with the uncertainty, to hold space for the unknown, and to trust that the process is shaping you, even if you can't see it yet. Research on emotional resilience shows that uncertainty often triggers our fight or flight response. The brain perceives the unknown as a threat, releasing stress hormones like cortisol. This response served us well in early human history, when uncertainty often meant danger. But in modern life, this response can feel overwhelming and out of place. Learning to regulate these emotions is part of the challenge and the gift of patience. I remember journaling during those moments of intense doubt, pouring my thoughts on my iPad. It wasn't about finding answers, it was about releasing the weight I was carrying. Each word I wrote felt like a small piece of the burden being lifted. And even though my circumstances didn't change right away, my perspective started to shift. I began to understand that waiting wasn't a punishment, it was a process. Let's now talk about what we don't talk about when we go out for coffee or dinners with friends. Darkness. The darkness of waiting. Society loves to romanticize patience as if it's a noble, peaceful experience. But the reality is far more complicated. Waiting can feel like a storm that doesn't end. It can feel isolating, like you're the only one going through it, and that isolation only deepens the pain. There were days when I felt like I was drowning. Days when I thought, what's the point? But those were also the days when I learned the most about myself. I learned that I could endure more than I thought I could. I learned that I was stronger than I ever gave myself credit for. And I learned that sometimes The only way out of the storm is through it. If you've ever felt like you're failing at patience, you're not alone. It's okay to feel broken, to cry, to question everything. Patience isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's about holding on, even when it feels like there's nothing left to hold on to. And that's where the real growth happens. Waiting forces you to sit with your emotions in a way that nothing else does. It doesn't let you escape or distract yourself. And in that stillness, you begin to uncover truths about yourself. Truths that are sometimes painful, but ultimately liberating. You realize that the strength you've been searching for has been within you all along. It's okay to feel everything you're feeling right now. It's okay to cry, to question, to be frustrated. Patience isn't about suppressing those emotions. It's about holding them and moving forward anyway, and that's where your strength lies. The darkness of waiting teaches you to rely on yourself in ways you never thought possible. It shows you the value of resilience, the importance of hope, and the power of faith. And when you finally emerge from that darkness, you don't just feel stronger, you feel transformed. You feel ready to face whatever comes next. Patience changes you, not in the surface-level cliché way that we often hear about, but in deep and profound ways that you might not even recognize until years later. For me, patience was not just a practice, it was a transformation. It taught me that the greatest battles are often fought within. By the time those years of waiting ended, I didn't just feel stronger, I felt different. Like I'd become someone new. One of the most surprising lessons patience taught me was about the nature of growth. Growth is rarely linear. It's messy, unpredictable, and often feels like regression before it feels like progress. Waiting gave me the space to reflect on who I was and who I wanted to be. It forced me to confront my flaws, my fears, and my insecurities. And in that confrontation, I found clarity. Studies in human psychology show that resilience, the ability to bounce back from adversity, is not something we're born with. A study by Dr. Ann Maston, a leading psychologist in resilience research, refers to it as ordinary magic, emphasizing that resilience develops through experiences and supportive relationships. It's something we cultivate through hardship and perseverance. In fact, researchers have found that people who face moderate levels of adversity often report greater emotional strength and a deeper sense of purpose than those who have never faced significant challenges. This is the paradox of patience. The very thing that tests you also strengthens you. Think of it like a forest after a wildfire. To the outside world, it might look like devastation, but beneath the surface, the soil becomes richer. The seeds of new growth begin to sprout, and the ecosystem transforms. That's what waiting does to us. It creates space for transformation, even if that transformation is invisible at first. I remember looking back at one of the hardest periods of waiting in my life. At the time, it felt like a never-ending cycle of uncertainty and self-doubt. But when I emerged from it, I realized that I had developed qualities I never thought I'd possess. Patience taught me to be more empathetic, more reflective, and more grounded. It showed me that strength isn't about never breaking. It's about rebuilding yourself when you do. Let's talk about the tools that can help us navigate the storms of waiting. I like to think of them as two categories: hard tools and soft tools. Hard tools are the chisels. They shape who you are, even when it feels painful. They're transformative practices that require us to change our beliefs and behaviors. One of the most powerful hard tools I discovered was breaking the societal truths we're often fed about productivity and worth. We've been conditioned to believe that our value lies in how busy we are, how much we achieve, and how quickly we do it. But patience challenges that narrative. It forces us to slow down, to sit with discomfort, and to find value in simply being rather than doing. To break this cycle, I developed a practice called value alignment mapping. Every morning, I would write down the 3 things I valued most. Not tasks or goals, but principles like peace, authenticity, or growth. Then I'd ask myself, what actions today will honor these values? This exercise helped me shift my focus from productivity to purpose. Another hard tool for me was deepening my connection with God. Turning to prayer and reflection gave me a sense of peace and purpose that nothing else could. The last 2 verses of Surah Al-Baqarah became a source of strength for me during some of my darkest moments. These verses are profound and deeply meaningful. One reminds us that God owns everything in the heavens and the earth, and that we are never held accountable beyond what we are capable of. It's a reminder of divine justice and mercy. Another verse is a heartfelt plea for forgiveness, mercy, and protection, a reminder that even in our weakest moments, we can rely on God's grace. Together, they offer a sense of solace, courage, and perspective, reminding me that even when I felt powerless, I was not alone. They taught me that resilience comes from understanding that we are never given more than we can bear, and that faith can be a profound anchor during life's storms. Psychologists have found that faith and spirituality can be powerful buffers against stress. They provide a framework for understanding hardship and a sense of connection to something greater than ourselves. For me, this was transformative. It shifted my perspective from why is this happening to me to what is this teaching me. Hard tools also include practices like challenging negative thought patterns and reframing our mindset. For instance, during one of my toughest waiting periods, I found myself stuck in a spiral of self-doubt, thinking, nothing I do will ever be enough. Through journaling and prayer, I shifted that thought to, this is difficult, but every small action I take is moving me closer to clarity. That reframing didn't eliminate the hardship, but it helped me focus on progress instead of paralysis. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, teaches us that our thoughts shape our emotions and behaviors. By identifying and replacing unhelpful thoughts with more constructive ones, we can change the way we experience waiting. For example, instead of thinking, I'll never get through this, we can tell ourselves, this is hard, but I'm growing through it. While hard tools shape us, soft tools sustain us. They're the salves that heal the wounds left by life's challenges. They help us stay grounded, nurture our well-being, and maintain hope during difficult times. Journaling became one of my most trusted soft tools. There were days when I would journal twice, sometimes just to make sense of my emotions. Writing allowed me to connect with my subconscious, to understand how I was truly feeling, and to release the weight of my thoughts. It wasn't about finding answers, it was about creating space for my emotions to exist without judgment. To make this more actionable, I created a journaling structure. Every morning, I would start by writing 3 things I was grateful for, 1 challenge I was facing, and 1 small step I could take to address it. In the evening, I would reflect on how I felt throughout the day and what I learned. This simple routine became a powerful tool for self-awareness and emotional regulation. Sitting in silence was another practice that helped me navigate the storm. In a world that's constantly noisy, silence can feel uncomfortable at first, but in that stillness, I found clarity. I began to notice the patterns of my thoughts, the way my mind would race, and the moments when my inner voice would whisper truths I hadn't been ready to hear. Silence became a sanctuary, a place where I could simply be. To help you integrate this, I recommend starting with just 5 minutes a day, preferably as soon as you wake up. Find a quiet space, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. Let your thoughts come and go without judgment. Over time, you'll find that this practice not only calms your mind, but also strengthens your ability to sit with discomfort. Prayer and self-reflection were equally important. These practices reminded me that I wasn't alone, even when it felt like I was. They gave me the strength to keep going, even when the path ahead seemed unclear. Research on mindfulness and meditation has shown that these practices can reduce stress, improve focus, and increase emotional resilience. For me, they were lifelines. Soft tools are also about finding small moments of joy and gratitude. During my journey, I made it a point to notice the simple things: the warmth of the sun on my face, the sound of birds in the morning, the comfort of a good cup of coffee. These moments didn't solve my problems, but they reminded me that even in the midst of struggle, there is beauty to be found. Patience requires both the strength to endure and the gentleness to care for yourself through the process. Hard tools and soft tools are not opposites. They are complements. Together, they create a balance that allows us to navigate the challenges of waiting with resilience and grace. Imagine you're climbing a mountain. The hard tools are your climbing gear, the ropes, the harness, the tools that help you scale the steepest cliffs. The soft tools are the rest stops along the way, the places where you catch your breath, drink some water, and regain your strength. You need both to reach the summit. There were moments during my journey when I leaned more heavily on one set of tools than the other, when the weight of waiting felt unbearable. The hard tools gave me the structure and strength to keep going. When I felt emotionally drained, the soft tools reminded me to be kind to myself. Together, they helped me not just survive the storm, but grow through it. Patience is not passive. It's an active process of holding on, letting go, and finding balance. It's about learning to trust the process, even when you can't see the outcome. And it's about discovering that within the waiting, there is growth, strength, and transformation. I want you to know this. Patience is not just about enduring. It's about evolving. It's about becoming someone who can face life's challenges with courage and compassion for yourself. And it's about finding the tools that help you along the way. Emerging from the darkness of waiting is not about a sudden moment of relief. It's a process, a gradual return to light. Relief is inevitable, but it requires you to keep showing up for yourself. Yes, there are days when it feels like the sky is falling, when hope feels out of reach, and when you're convinced you've reached your limit. I empathize because I've been there too. But here's what I want you to hold on to. Every new day is a recharge, a chance to begin again. When you wake up, you're not starting from zero, you're carrying forward every ounce of strength and wisdom you've built so far. Patience doesn't mean sitting idly by, waiting for life to change. It's an active effort to keep grinding, to keep working on yourself and bettering whatever it is you're waiting for. Show up, even when it's hard, even when you don't feel like it. Showing up is how you honor your hope and keep your dreams alive. Every step forward, no matter how small, keeps the momentum going. Think of it like a marathon. There are moments when your legs feel like they can't carry you any further, but you take one more step, then another. Patience is much the same. Each step you take might feel insignificant in the moment, but over time, it transforms you. Every small act of perseverance adds to your strength, shaping you into someone who can face even greater challenges ahead. And before you know it, you've covered more ground than you thought possible. The same is true for waiting. Each day you show up is another step closer to the relief and clarity you're seeking. And in the process, you're building a version of yourself that is stronger, wiser, and more compassionate than ever before. As you reflect on today's episode, I want to ask you this. What tools, hard or soft, are you using to cultivate patience in your life? And how could you bring more of them into your daily routine? Whether it's journaling, prayer, reframing your thoughts, or simply sitting in silence. What's one small step you can take today to nurture your inner strength? And remember, this isn't about getting it perfect. It's about showing up for yourself, even in the smallest ways. Sometimes the tiniest shifts can lead to the biggest transformations. If today's episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. Maybe they're struggling with patience and waiting as well. Maybe this will remind them that they are not alone. I'd also love to hear your thoughts and experiences. Leave a comment, send a message, or connect with me on social media. Your story matters and it could inspire someone else. And finally, if you've been enjoying the Caffeinated Musings podcast, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your friends. Your support helps me grow and reach more people who might need a little inspiration in their own journey. Thank you for being here, for listening, and for trusting me to be a part of your day. Until next time, remember this: patience isn't just about enduring the wait. It's about discovering who you are in the process and who you're becoming. That's worth every moment of the journey.